or moderator. They are accepting applications. Content creators can do a variety of different content, such as YouTube, Twitch, but they're just looking for... Oh, well, that might... Okay, one second, guys. Let's get audio up. Just... And we've returned. All right, can you guys give me a shout out if we are here in audio? I'll wait to hear back from you guys. What's a stream without some technical hurdles, right? All good. Okay, awesome. Okay, so just a little recap. I'm just going to be introducing our panel of guests to talk about the daily login rewards. We are going to be revealing the results of the survey that everybody took. And just before we kind of introduce our special guests, wanted to cover that Eve Echoes is recruiting some official content creators and moderators. I did include the links in the description, so if you're interested in joining, please feel free to fill out an application and join us in this wonderful venture of content creation. It's not all technical issues. It is pretty fun, and it's just kind of a cool crew. You do get to have like a special channel in Discord. You get to have a nice pink title, or green if you decide to be a moderator, so it's very fun. And then if you haven't heard of the emoji contest, we do have an emoji contest that is going on. On Monday, August 10th, the top 3 emojis are going to be revealed, and then the first place is going to be getting a 3-month Omega combo. Second place is a 2-month Omega combo, and third place, 1-month Omega combo. So definitely, if you haven't checked out the emoji competition, you can try to get a freebie, I guess, subscription in terms of Eve Echoes. So without further ado, let's welcome our panel guests. Hey everybody, how's everyone doing today?
Good.
Hello.
Hey,
Awesome.
how's it going?
Ahoy there.
So we'll just kind of introduce each one. Caleb, tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, I'm just a freakish market nerd from EVE Online. I've been playing since 2003, so that's pretty much my specialty.
And you've got a little bit of background in finance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, financial management, and I've worked in a bank and done a lot of actual real-life investment, but trying to quit.
Awesome. Captain Benzie, how are you doing today?
Ahoy there, fish. Hopefully I'm doing better than I was last time. As you can see, the camera's off, so hopefully my voice keeps coming through. Fingers crossed we hold in there, eh?
Of course. And I do think that we should maybe potentially run a campaign to save Captain Benzie's internet. If you guys are interested, any donations that we get in, we're going to be helping Captain Benzie get him set up with some strong internet as possible. Just because love having him as a guest, great content creator, and always just want to see how we can kind of support each other. Nam, how are you doing today?
Doing good. First time on the stream with you, so this is kind of fun. I've been wanting to do this for a little while, but I'm not usually a camera guy, so I will see. We'll see how it goes.
And we do, and actually Nam is one of the guys who is responsible for helping us put together this data. So as we go through, it'll be kind of interesting to explain a little bit how we broke it down. In terms of the survey numbers, want to just try to give you guys a full scope of how we came to these numbers, and just so that you kind of can understand where we got this data from. Rahne, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Awesome, very good. So for anyone who is new to you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I played EVE Echoes, I believe it was in beta or early alpha. I'm mostly an EVE Online player. I do a lot of PvP, solo, fleet PvP, as well as AT commentary for EVE Online.
Nice, excellent. Well, really glad to have you here. I love the dynamic of having the EVE Online guests as well with the Echoes guests, because we do want to try to bring over some of that incredible feel that EVE Online has had into Echoes. And then without further ado, SovereignRPG, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you doing?
Very good. For anyone who doesn't know you, which it's undoubtedly I know many do, but tell us a little about you.
I just basically started a YouTube channel to make small guides and news and announcements because I was tired of watching 30-minute guides. So I decided to start making 4-minute guides, and it went from there.
Nice, nice. Well, really glad to have you guys all here. And so without, further ado, we'll kind of dive into a little bit about the daily rewards. We're kind of interested to see, or at least the community has been very interested to see, how these dailies are going to be impacting gameplay. Now, Caleb, since you're someone who's had quite a bit of experience in the market and in econ and with finance, and I kind of gave you a little bit of an overview, what are your thoughts in terms of the dailies that we saw that are proposed for Eve Echoes so far?
Well, when it comes to things like dailies, they are, of course, now an industry standard. And I'm not necessarily opposed to it. And it's not something that when you have a live ecosystem running, it's not really that disruptive. The problem with something like this is that basically you guys are having the joy of a land rush phenomenon, right? Basically, you're all going to be starting on the same day, and everyone will start ticking in those rewards. And then the impact is a little bit different, and it's potentially disruptive. It's funny because I was looking them over based on some of the comments I've heard from you guys and from the guys that had actually made videos about it, and I kind of agree with most of the things that were being said. The problem is I saw something that I am a lot more worried about than the overall reward scheme. I think the fact that no one has really discussed the problem with insurance is a little bit telling, because this has, as mentioned, mostly something to do with industry. Basically, if these things are too impactful, you're basically going to nerf industrialists from the beginning, because they're not going to have the same benefit of what is traditionally called a hype cycle, where you get this land rush thing where scarcity starts actually kicking in, and then to get the economy started, you do something like stimulus, usually using something like NPCs. This is what EVE Online did way back in ancient history, where you had some of the market stuff seeded by NPCs, and then slowly those things were removed and the player economy could basically pick up. But from what I'm seeing, this is really not a time where I would have rewards of that magnitude, because you don't have a living economy yet. So I would say, as it's shown from NetEase and CCP, this is something I would have expected not to actually enter the game until like 3 to 6 months in.
I see. And just even kind of touching on that in terms of the magnitude of these rewards, just looking at some of the first results of the survey, we noticed that we had 51.7% of people say yes, they do actually like the idea of rewards. But kind of just looking at some of the graphs, we noticed that there's a few people that are mixed up. Some people that said no, they're not really interested. And then we did have, some of the people who are unsure. I do think one of the things that does impact this is just the fact that people might not necessarily understand the value of what happens when these kinds of rewards are released.
Well, it's basically going to tank all the values of those items. This is something that we have a lot of experience with in EVE Online, because when these things are seeded, they have a considerable impact. This is, of course, also because there's a lot more multi-boxing going on and multi-account activity in EVE Online than I expect will be relevant in EVE Echoes. So it's a little bit of a different scenario. It's just that, especially when you look at the insurance thing, that was basically what convinced me that the EVE Echoes team is not really communicating with what I would call serious economists or ecosystem analysts. The fact that you have something that is basically healing and resurrecting ships directly without any interaction with the actual game is really what started worrying me. I know that someone said that it was only was it T1 to T13 tier wise. That's actually something you can bring back from the graveyard. But still, it's exactly the opposite of what is done in EVE Online Insurance, which is basically ISK-based. This is all about sinks and faucets. And when you're talking about the damage of ISK faucets in a game, that's not necessarily such a huge problem. It's more when it has a direct impact on industry and resource gathering. And these insurance vouchers are basically completely nerfing the demand side in game, because it basically creates a ship out of nowhere.
Now, Captain Benzie, I know that you had given a video on the dailies when they came out, and it seemed, I love the videos that you come out with. Can you give us a little bit of feedback on how you feel about the dailies? I know specifically you mentioned the battle cruiser being pretty intense. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think looking at the graphs and that on your responses, the first thing I want to say is that I agree with people that I love having daily login rewards. I think from mobile gaming, that little incentive just to open up the app, log in and collect some rewards and maybe do a couple of missions and that, it helps create an active environment. It's shown that having daily login rewards ultimately tends to be a good thing in mobile gaming, if they're done right, simply because it drives player attention and it drives game activity, which is important. In the video, though, what I discussed is pretty much what we saw there, what's just been said there by Caleb, that simply put, you're giving people free ships in those login rewards, the trainers, the Shun You Destroyer, and the Can You Battlecruiser. Then you're also giving them, I think it's 20-odd different insurance vouchers, which can bring that same ship back over and over again. The Battlecruiser, if it was anything like it was in the beta, is frankly ludicrous to give that out on day 30. Because you're giving everyone literally the most powerful ship in the game, as it was in beta, and the ability to resurrect it 22 times without any fallback. That is the problem. Now, admittedly, the devs are saying it's been nerfed by 55%, same with the Shun You Destroyer, and we'll see that actually apparently this coming week. They'll reveal the stats. Until I see those stats, I'm going to remain cautious, to say the least. But I think it's certainly telling that when we look at those graphs and that you've put up there, people are, which rewards do you like the least? The idea of the ships being up there is right at the top, but Caleb's quite right. It's actually the insurance that's the problem. Give me a free ship, and if I get it blown up, it's gone. It's just one free ship. That insurance voucher means that free ship gets 22 of that ship, or however many insurance vouchers it is. That's the big problem there for me.
Yeah, and even I threw up a graph right now, and it shows that 42.4% are concerned about the types of rewards that affect gameplay. So it seems like the first graph showed that many people are not opposed to daily rewards, but they're more so concerned at the type of daily rewards. Now, if you were to tell...
Yeah, but then looking at the graphs, I think people are concerned about the wrong rewards. The ship being in there isn't a problem. It's the insurance vouchers that are the biggest problem.
Can I ask a curiosity question? Because I get, you have a ship and it's destroyed, but I'm also curious because I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of people immediately playing. How quickly, as a brand new player, without being given free ships, can you create a new ship? Do you automatically get it from missions, or do you actually have to sit and build it and take time? Because, Say again?
Sorry, go on, continue, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say because, I know, with normal EVE, you start out in the tutorial, and the best you get is, a T1 frigate, and that's it. The rest you have to go out and build and buy. And you have to mine it, then you have to start an industry job, and then you have to build it, and that takes time.
Yeah,
well,
it's exactly the same.
As well for mining.
It's exactly the same in Echoes. The only difference is that you're going to be given a massive jump start on day 4 by getting the cruiser trainer, which they've added to help newer players and newer player retention, which is what they've said, that the whole trainer cruiser, and because it's not just trainer cruisers, there are things called prototypes, which are battle cruiser prototypes, which is a trainer, which is a seeded ship battle cruiser, and you have the Yangjung prototype, which is another one. I also just wanted to quickly correct Benzie, sorry, on that you can't revive it 22 times. It's 24, and it's only 16. It takes 16 to revive the battle cruiser, and it's 8 to revive the destroyer.
I have a question, Sub. So you,
Yes.
because you seem to know about this subject a little bit more than I do. So if you're reviving a ship with vouchers, can you just stack vouchers and just continuously revive your ship over and over and over? Because that, like, now I see like why Caleb was saying that's like, I just think that's a really bad idea. Like, why you only have to build a ship once, and then you can just stack vouchers and just continuously keep reviving it.
Yes.
So what I've seen so far,
oh, sorry.
something that I've seen so far, you can only have 24 vouchers in a login bonus. There's another 16 vouchers within the advanced tutorial itself, and then we don't know because they breezed past my question if they were going to be adding more vouchers in the following 30-day login, because there's going to be 30-day login rewards every month. Every 30 days there'll be a new one, and they've said that it's going to be less, but all they would have to do is take the ships out and it would be less. So you could have 24 vouchers every single 30 days for all we know. So you could revive that battle cruiser once a month, or collect them. If you don't lose it for 3 months and you've got a collection of vouchers, you can revive those prototypes, those trainers, those T1 to T3 ships as many times as you want.
I hate the idea of this.
The problem is that one of the really fun things for people that are industrialists or market oriented, or hell, even just miners, when you have a land rush economy and when you have what's basically called a hype cycle, is the fact that the hype cycle creates this ingrained volatility in the market, and you get this huge profitability, and then people start piling on, and then of course it flattens out and it normalizes. But that's the exciting part about being in the market, and the fact that you bring some design like this into the game. I see many of the designs in Eve Echoes right now are basically going to disincentivize anyone that is seriously interested in resource gathering industry and markets, because it doesn't look as if it's going to be as alive and vibrant as the circle of life in EVE Online.
Yeah, like what you're saying, when you can capitalize on certain situations, like if there's a war going on and there's lots of ships being destroyed, and certain corporations, like you might like to fly certain doctrines, all of a sudden there's a shortage of supply of a certain ship. It like kind of, it doesn't make sense why you would have vouchers in there. It like takes away that whole part of the gameplay. For I'm not an industry player, but I can see as an industry player why that would be frustrating, because for me, if I was, I would be capitalizing on positions in the market, on shortages of supply. It really takes a lot of I don't really know what to think about it. Right now I don't like it very much.
Well, it's very much the key point is what I said about the fact that these rewards kind of make sense 6 months down the line, right? I don't see them as causing major problems at that point, because then the whole player base has consolidated and figured out where to live, and the productivity has kind of started rolling. But this feels like killing the whole sandbox economy from the beginning. I think it's a massive mistake. I think they should delay this.
I don't think that it's going to have that big of an impact, honestly. It's going to be 1-2 weeks maximum. If you're in that trainer cruiser, if you're going to use the trainer cruisers as an example, you're going to outlive that trainer cruiser pretty damn quickly with the amount of ISK you're going to be making straight away. So
you're expecting some very high destruction. But
well,
then you're expecting very high destruction numbers. The point is that the people that are not necessarily as willing to risk their assets as you might be if you are a hardcore PvPer, the other guys will not do so. That means that they're going to have these things as spares, and they can actually be seeded into the market.
That's the problem.
This is the main thing. This is not a one player or what's called microeconomic point of view or problem. This is a macroeconomic problem that it can be massive, especially if, let's just say that a third of the pre-ordered subscriptions are going to actually hit the server. That's 1.5 million of these frigates and cruisers and prototype ships and insurance vouchers. That's completely going to push the economy and the economic activity down.
But it only really at the very start, because you're not going to be selling these ships. You can only sell the modules for the Yangjung ships out of all of the login rewards. They're not tradable. So you're not going to be getting all of these ships and sticking it on the market and fucking everyone, because the actual game itself is selling these ships on the market as seeded ships. So
I'm just saying that the demand is what's
one
relevant. It doesn't matter who owns these ships, whether they can hit markets or not. The fact is that the demand is still going to be delayed because everyone has these ships that they can fly, at least for the first 3 months, right? So the economy will not become what I'm said is called a hype cycle, where you have this constraint and scarcity, and everyone is rushing to get into it and take advantage of it and build this player-to-player activity. This is very solo-centric to have these types of rewards.
Now, I kind of wanted to hear...
If I may, we had a...
Oh, I was going to say, I wanted to hear what Captain Benzie, you were trying to say a point earlier. I wanted to hear what that was. Benzie?
Hang on, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
We had a conversation come up on my Discord before I recorded the video, and it's kind of what put me in the mood to sit there and go, no, I need to talk about this. One guy said, hang on, if I'm an adventure trainer and I'm getting, the 22 came from this, and I'm getting 22 insurance vouchers, the venture trainer comes from doing the advanced tutorials, that means I can rebuild that venture trainer 22 times, right? That means there's no worry for me out mining. Then another guy, there's no point one guy said that there's no point him blowing up miners in a venture trainer because they're just gonna, they just build another one. Then another guy said, hang on, my business was going to be selling ventures early on to, building and selling ventures. Does that mean that I'm not going to be able to make much money from that because people aren't going to want them? They're going to want to stick in the venture trainer for longer, and just keep reviving that one over and over again. Then another guy said, that's really going to affect my mining industry as well, because I'm not going to have the ores. People aren't going to be buying the ores off me to build the ventures and this kind of thing. And that's the entire point. It's when we talk about why it's a bad idea for NetEase or CCP to sell ships for real world money. Like, we know you can buy Plex. You can buy Plex for dollars. You can put that Plex on the market and get ISK, and you can use that ISK to buy a ship. But in that situation, that ship was built with minerals and a blueprint that were harvested by players. Those minerals were reprocessed from ores that were harvested. People have been paid. That economy is moving. That money is moving through that blood cycle, basically. The money is moving through the economy. If you put a ship on Eve.com for $10 to buy this ship, no one has built that. No money has gone into the game to make that. No players have been rewarded for mining, reprocessing, ratting the blueprints, or actually manufacturing that ship and taking it to market. The same is going on here. Every time someone revives a ship with an insurance voucher, it is a ship that no one has been rewarded for building. And that just means there's no point. If you want to go into marketing an industry, the best thing, manufacturing an industry, the best thing right now is just to take that trainer cruiser and go ratting for the first couple of weeks. Wait until everyone else has lost and used all their insurance vouchers, then start harvesting and building ships. Go secure space with PvE and PvP, then worry about the actual materials later.
Just to put so the revival so you have to go into the actual kill mail or the death mail, and you have to click repair your ship. That repair isn't free. That repair costs you an amount of ISK dependent on the size of the ship. So it's not just something that just pops up and say, oh look, there you go.
So there's ISK involved with it too.
Yeah, there's ISK involved
okay,
with everything. There's taxes everywhere, there's ISK everywhere.
That's just backwards. It's completely backwards.
Yeah, it helps, but doesn't solve the issue that Caleb was bringing up. I mean, definitely having that sync is good, but
the point is that's not what insurance is supposed to be. Insurance is supposed to be a faucet. It's supposed to be an ISK faucet where you get money and then you can buy a ship from a player that
stimulates the economy.
It stimulates the economy. This does the opposite. It slows it down and it cools it down. And the fact that it's an ISK sink instead of an ISK faucet just again proves to me that something else is going on in EVE Echoes than in EVE Online. And I'm just worried that you're not going to get the vibrant PvP economic engine that EVE Online is in EVE Echoes. If this is the way that they're thinking, they have the hat upside down, and it's it's worrying. I was very worried when I saw this. And then the added one is, can you then in the future buy vouchers from the actual store for real life money?
Yeah,
that's going to be even worse, right?
That.
Because then you're completely undermining the player-to-player aspect of the MMO.
Benzie,
Unless they give it every 30 days, unless they give you free ships every 30 days and vouchers every single 30 days, then this is going to be a non-issue after the first 30 days. It's only an issue if they continue along the same line. Otherwise, it's just going to fizzle out. People are going to like leave the game after the first couple of weeks, like every single game that ever gets released. It will go down to a core group of players. Those core group of players will want that extra 20% power. They'll want that extra 55% power. They're not going to be happy sitting there in like Omen trainers for 6 months. It's just while they catch up to tier 7 or tier 8 to get into the battle cruisers. It's just,
Well,
I think
I'm fine with this.
By then.
I'm fine with this being a completely new title, and it's a mobile platform and all of that. And well, I was hoping that it was going to be EVE Online on a mobile platform. But all of these things are just pointing in a direction that have fundamentally lost connection with the actual original CCP development and the magic source that made EVE Online the only really functional economic sandbox game out there, right? There is no other game that succeeded in doing this. And this was really about the whole single shard economy, the very open PvP to get the destruction numbers up, and then the fact that every ship in the game is created from titanium that always gets sourced by players. If these factors are removed, it's not going to be even remotely like a sandbox economy. It's going to be a traditional MMO. It's going to be traditional MMO accretion potential. Well, I'm going to call it bullshit, and it's not going to work. It's going to have 3 to 4, maybe 5 lives, 5 years of life, and it's going to be fun, but it's not going to be sustainable, and it's not going to be the incentivizing engine that EVE Online is.
But that's the problem with people like us, old school gamers. We're not catered for anymore. We're not catered for this type of gameplay. The economy in games, no one gives a flying fuck about anymore, at all.
Well, I fucking do. I do.
But we're older players. We've played MMOs for a long time, and we came from a phase of hardcore MMOs where it was full loot. It was you'd lose skills when we started playing. Like the
whole reason I even started playing EVE in the first place was because of how like devastating it was to like work really hard to make something and then you lose it and fuck, that sucks, but damn, that's awesome. Like it brought a whole different level of gameplay that I'd never experienced in any other game. And yeah, I'm glad we're talking about the insurance vouchers, because I think you're right, Caleb, in that we totally overlooked that. Everyone was just focused on dailies, because I think dailies in a way, for me, it just feels like every other mobile game. Like every mobile game has dailies, and I thought EVE Echoes was going to be a little bit different. I was expecting it to be different, and then I think it's just the novelty of dailies. It was just a little bit. It was scary, and that's what we focused on. But really, those insurance vouchers are really, I think, they're a little bit. Yeah, they're devastating the economy. It doesn't stimulate the economy in any way whatsoever.
No.
And I think one of the things that I'm wondering is, why did they not try to experiment with something like cyclical stuff? So things that have a time limit, that naturally decay, or is really something that is forced to actually go into the player versus player economy. And then, of course, vanity items. I think skins and things like that is amazing. Why not just stick to that, right? So, and instead of giving skill points, give boosters. I don't understand why you give actual skill points instead of a booster multiplier, because a booster multiplier is something that you have to go in there. It's got an expiration date, at least they do in EVE Online. So you have to use them, you have to take advantage of them, and if you don't, they just disappear and become worthless, right? That's good for the economy. That means that to get the benefits of the whole login padding, which is what I call it, you have to actually go in there, activate something. It also disincentivizes things like massive multi-account usage, right? Because if you have to go in and activate something like a training booster, you don't want to do that with 100 accounts. That's just horrible.
True. That's a good point. It's a very simple mechanic that can solve a lot of problems. Actually, that's really interesting. I've never heard that perspective before, but I like it.
Now, I was kind of
There's a
curious to
cerebral
hear.
accelerator. Sorry, go on.
I was curious to hear Rahne's perspective in terms of insurance vouchers, because so I've just been kind of showing this screen for everybody to see which rewards people like the least and the most, and I do think insurance vouchers is one that's been looked over. If I'm just going to pop up the rewards people like the least, we can see insurance vouchers is at 11%, and in terms of most, we have insurance vouchers at 13%. So Rahne, for you as someone who likes PvP, imagining the thought of people being able to just kind of bring back their ship pretty quickly, how does that make you feel, or what do you think in terms of that?
I'm kind of split. So at first, for me, like, I'm coming in from the outside because I didn't know of insurance vouchers when I played. So I looked at these and I was just like, oh, you just repair your ship. But now everyone's saying you revive your ship, which like blows my mind. But at the same time, like, if I'm gonna go out in PvP, like, especially starting off a game and me having like an EVE Online background experience or even EVE Echoes in the alpha, like, I'm just gonna go run around like suicide ganking everyone because I know if I screw up, I can just get my ship back. And then at the same time,
you don't get modules though.
you don't get modules.
No
That's
modules.
fine. I can rat a little or do the
Full
tutorial. but like for other people, when it's like, oh, their ship explodes, but I still get the kill mail, and then they get their ship back, then it's like, great, I can go kill them again. That sounds super exciting to me. So I can maybe see like a positive from that aspect, from maybe not from the industry side, but from the player, like player versus player side. It encourages people like, yeah, sure, you start out with this ship, but if it dies, that's okay because you'll just get a new one. Like, I can see where it's very incentivizing there. But yeah, I get like sacrificing the PvE or the industry or the mining to get that sort of PvP. I don't think is a good trade-off.
So,
I think they should kind of work hand in hand more than losing one for the other.
Yeah.
So really
Agreed.
having some kind of limitations and ensuring that we don't have too many insurance vouchers that will almost kind of ruin the industry. You don't want to sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah, correct.
The irony is, and this is tied to what Rahne just said, I thought the idea of this resurrection thing, so you could actually get your ship with the entire fit back, was actually an improvement and something that would be a much better solution. The problem is how it disrupts the ecosystem. If they could figure out some way of tying the insurance stuff into NPC demands, so that you actually get demands created from NPCs when someone uses a voucher like that, I think it would almost be an improvement on the insurance system, and it would be better than just having an ISK faucet. Because if I'm a PvPer like Rahne, I'm sure if she could just add some paste and then get her entire fitted ship back so she doesn't have to sit there and do all the refitting again, I think that would actually be a quality of life improvement. It's just tying it in to the economy is a challenge.
Now, you had mentioned...
I mean, you can revive it and immediately go... In the fitting screen, you can save profiles. So if you, say, fit out a Thrasher, lose it in combat, you come back, you use a voucher to revive it, you can just hit the hit revive.
Oh, he's gone.
We've lost
And if you
Benzie
put
in a-
those modules in
Oh, there he
place,
is.
they come back.
Can you
So,
repeat that
Rahne,
last
how about-
sentence, Captain Benzie? We lost you for a moment.
Sorry, I was just saying that if you can save the profile. So if you do lose a ship, say you lose a Thrasher, you just dock back at station, you open up the fitting window, you revive the ship, and then you hit load
Keep going.
profile, and it will fit all of that stuff back if you've got extras in your hangar. If, for example, you've got a stack of 30 Mark V turrets, you come back into your hangar, you hit load fitting, and it will automatically put those back in. It's only the ship that gets revived with the voucher, but if you have spare fittings, you can fit near instantly and get back up and running.
Since,
Yeah.
That said as well, one thing I did just want to touch on very quickly is something that Sovereign mentioned earlier, and it is a bloody good point that none of us have kind of touched on until Rahne. One guy on my YouTube, put up this really impassioned response saying, look, the only people complaining about this are EVE Online veterans.
Yeah.
I'm like, I sat there and I said, look,
Yeah.
Actually, the reason that the EVE Online veterans are complaining is because they understand the economy. They know how these insurance vouchers are going to affect the economy. They, please don't start this us versus them kind of thing. They know better because they are experts. But beyond that, the point is, the developers even said, the aim of these insurance vouchers and that is to help out new players. The difficulty is, it helps out the new players whilst also helping out the old ones. If they're saying, look, we want to give the newbies something to compete against the old schools, they've given us both the same stuff, which doesn't help the newbies. Like, congratulations, on day 10, they're going to be flying a Shanyu prototype destroyer. Assume that that's as good as the beta, which they're saying it's not. On day 10, they're flying that around, and they're going to be doing awesomely. We're going to be doing exactly the same. We're going to have that ship. But you're hurting the economy as well. There does need to be a balance to help new players.
And this is the wolf versus sheep, right? If you're talking wolves versus sheep again, this is the entitled PvP centric player that's getting catered to. Because when you're saying, oh, it's to help the new players, well, it must be only to help the new players that are interested in shooting other people in the face. Because this completely undermines anyone that's interested in organization building, industry, and marketing.
Not right? True. It's the daily login rewards only affect that because the advanced tutorial.
Oh god.
No, Benzie.
I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry. Go on.
Last sentence.
So let me say something because Benzie.
Tutorials have those skills and ships.
Okay. Okay, so I wanted to say something because Benzie was mentioning that most of the people complaining about this, the insurance vouchers and things like that are EVE Online players, and he's probably right about that. Because we're like thinking this is going to be EVE Online, but I'm trying to think outside the way I normally think, and think how else could this play out? And one of the things I was thinking is that maybe just the EVE Echoes won't be EVE Online. It's going to be different. Maybe the modules will be the more relevant economy driver over ships, and so maybe ships might not be the like in EVE Online's, ships are really what, drives the economy, and, selling them and trading them. And when wars happen, they get destroyed, and then people replenish the market with the ships that they're building. But, maybe modules do get destroyed. So maybe that's the difference. Maybe it'll just be different than EVE Online. It'll just be modules, not ships that are driving the economy.
I think an important
make a really good point now.
Wait,
they're ratted.
One person at a time. All right, Sovereign, you first.
So, Nom actually made a really good point there, which is what I was going to say. No one has ever, since EVE Echoes has been a thing, no one has ever advertised this game as a sandbox economic game, ever. It's never been said that it has anything passion about economy. It's only EVE Online players that are saying, this has to have fucking economy.
It's not. The economy is tied to the condition of winning and the incentive of play. Right. This is what one of the things about EVE Online players is that a majority of them say that the thing that got them hooked was when they got killed in a serious way the first time, when they basically met an existential threat. This is really the core of the EVE concept, that it is a resilience building game where you live with risk management, right? And if you don't have that, you don't really have the massive PvP centric game that EVE Online is. And I hope EVE Echoes is going to be. So this is back to that kind of gameplay. The fact that someone is always winning and someone is always losing, that is exactly why you get an economy running, especially if you have a resource gathering centric game where it's always created by players. This is the whole core concept and why EVE Online works. If you skip that part in EVE Echoes, it's just going to be an EVE skinned classic mobile MMO. There's not going to be any of that novel stuff, and I think that would be a tragedy.
I mean, I think to call that out too, right? Like, I know you mentioned CCP earlier about like how this isn't like the classic EVE Online CCP game. The one thing to call out is like this isn't made by CCP. This is made by NetEase. And like I remember there was the Eve Echo stream. What was it, like back in May or June, I believe, when they not announced the launch date. There were no CCP devs on that stream. That was all NetEase employees. So like I think that's the other thing too, is like, yes, it is Eve IP. It's the EVE Online concept, the EVE Online world, right? Like almost everything is the same. It's not just like a reskinned thing, kind of like what was it, Aether Wars was for like some marketing thing. This is like, I get it, like it's still Eve, but at the same time there's these other developers, other publishers coming in and kind of giving their spin to things. And so even though it may not be true to EVE Online, I think that's okay as long as they still have a direction with it.
And
I have a question for Rahne, actually, just quickly, sorry. You're PvPer.
Yes.
Will you rather pick a 20% weaker trainer ship for 4 months, flying that ship on bringing that up, or would you rather have a 20% more powerful ship and kill everyone else who's in their shitty 80% ships?
So that's
as
tough.
a PvPer.
So if I want to win, I'm obviously picking the stronger ship. But if I want to like make a name for myself, I'm gonna pick the weaker ship and be good at it.
Nice.
But there's there's no kill boards. There's no kill boards in Eve Echoes.
Not yet.
A lot of our guys in OBS, like during the alpha and the beta, we liked to use the trainer ships and kill the Navy issue ships and kill the bigger and better ship with a trainer ship, and we figured out a lot of different ways to fit our modules, and it's so much more satisfying when you're in a ship that's like way weaker than your opponent and you just completely wreck them. So I totally get that, and I think too that I don't think that the economy is actually it might not be in trouble just because ships can be revived. It might not be. There might still be a thriving economy. It might just not be focused around ships. It might be focused around the modules. What if modules are significantly more powerful in Eve Echoes than they are in Eve Online? All of a sudden, it becomes about what modules you have on your ship.
Yeah, the problem is, how do you source these things? And this is one of the things...
You build the modules.
Well, I'm aware, but I'm just trying to point out that the cycle of the circle of life in EVE Online is one of the things that sustains what is traditionally called the sheep in an MMO, right? And other games eventually lose them. I'm just pointing out that if you want this nice balance of sheep and wolves, you need to have something that makes both of them valid. And many of the designs in a lot of MMOs are so PvP centric and caters to that group because they create so much activity that they eventually kill off their own sheep, right? Because they stop catering to their gameplay. And this is why someone like Rahne is the most important thing in EVE Online, because she goes out and shoots people in the face. That means that she keeps the economy and the ecosystem vibrant, and she is basically the reason why there is a sheep that is working in some corner of space.
Now, I did want to touch back on Captain Benzie's point in terms of whether this is just EVE Online players or not. So this is probably one of the biggest skewed pieces of data that we have in the survey, because the question was added after we had already collected some, some responses. But it was, what is your EVE experience? And we had about a pretty even mix, actually, for looking at the data. We had about 47% that were EO vets, and then 47.5% that were EE beta players, and then 5.5 who had never played before. So, I mean, in terms of this just being an EVE Online thing that people are concerned about, I am not as convinced. I do think that there are a lot of people who have migrated from other mobile games that have had bad experience with those mobile games getting their strategy drastically removed. And so just wanted to kind of touch a little bit on the data point on there. But Captain, I know that you've been having a point you wanted to touch on.
Sorry, yeah, I have a slight delay on my button press and that on this side as well, which means when I go to press, someone else is already talking each time, so I know I overlap a lot. My sincerest apologies for that.
No worries.
I just want to clarify as well quickly, that was a comment on my YouTube, was a guy saying that, and he actually came into my Discord and started going on a massive rant, and officially has been the first person kicked from the Catskull Cartel Discord. So yeah, kudos to him for that. The point I want to make, though, is if the market is changing, I get what you're saying about maybe this means that the market will change from being ship focused to being module focused. I'd argue that actually in EVE Online it is mainly module focused anyway. If you lose a ship, it's the modules that cost you the most to replace. But in EVE Echoes, modules aren't built. Not really. How many people were building modules in the final test or the OBT? We're not the ones building the Mark 7 strike cannons or things like that. They come from ratting. So if you have a situation of insurance, what we were saying earlier is everything revolves around ratting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The insurance voucher requires ISK to revive the ship. Cool. If an insurance voucher requires ISK to revive the ship, that's fine. Where are you getting that ISK from? Because in the first couple of weeks, you're not getting that ISK from mining, because no one wants to buy your ores, because no one wants to make ships, because everyone's in their cruisers doing tier 7 anomalies on day 5. That's where you're getting your ISK, and that is the only place you are really actively going to be getting ISK for quite a while. And if the ships aren't the focus of the economy, it's the modules. Most of those modules come through ratting, whether it's just the cannons and the micro warp drives, or whether it's the blueprints. Ratting becomes literally 80 to 90% of the game, and the devs admitted that in the AMA. They said that ultimately industry and mining is a very small percentage of players, so it's kind of like was said earlier, it's knowing to cater towards your player base. Very few players apparently seem to be interested in mining or industry comparatively on the big scale of things, so that's not what they're catering for. They're looking at the statistics and they're building around us blowing each other up all the time, and that being where we have fun.
Sovereign,
and
I
that's
know you're
where I'll be
bursting.
buying my ships. Sorry?
I said I know you're bursting to say something. So what about free SP? I mean, I'm going to pop up some of the graph here and in which rewards most people like. We saw that people were actually okay with free skill points. I mean, I don't know if we've touched too much on that. Sovereign, what do you think about the free skill points?
Free skill points. I mean, it's only the 600k. Like if you're including the skill chips, I'm not really fussed about it, to be honest. The biggest deal for me were obviously the insurance vouchers. I don't even care about the ships because that will get me into my PvP way quicker than everyone else. So I don't like. I'm being quite selfish in what I like about the free rewards, and as a person who knows what he's doing, free SP, free ships, and free vouchers are just great for me.
I don't like the fact that it looks like they're doing the Caldari Master Race cookie cutter bullshit. I think that's a mistake. I know that everyone likes missiles and Caldari is the superpower and all that stuff, but actually putting that in the rewards, I don't really see why they would do something like that.
So you kind of have a problem with very specific faction type dailies.
Well, the fact that they give these skills that basically puts them in the equivalent of a Caldari ship and basically just ignores everything else means that you can't even make a choice. You can't say, oh, I'm not going to go missiles. I actually want to do Amar lasers, but that's not what you get, right? You get locked into these skills, and I think that's a mistake.
They've changed that, so the skill box will be a choice of all 4 for that one day.
Nice.
And also, those skills are like, what, 13.5 hours of Omega 3 Cog 3? Like it's less than half a day to get the same amount of skills. So I probably have those skills before I even unlock the weapon box.
Yeah, the point is putting people on a rail where they go in a certain direction. I think that was my beef. I don't care about the fact that they give skill books or anything like that. It's that pushing the player base to a certain choice in class is really bad, because the whole point is that it should be vibrant and open, right? So I can choose where I want to go. Yeah,
it is nice to know that the devs did change that, because you're right. I mean, when I first saw that too, it's like, why would you push us one direction or another? But they actually listened and they changed that. They didn't. You know, everyone was complaining about the dailies, and that was a big uproar for a little bit. But they didn't get rid of dailies or anything like that. They're probably not going to, but they did make adjustments. So you know, we just got to keep our just keep giving them our opinions, and they'll take it into consideration. Doesn't mean they're going to do anything, but they actually do listen, and they do take things into consideration. So that is something I do really appreciate about these developers. I've never played any other mobile game where developers gave a shit about their community. They're just in it, quick cash, microtransactions, game lasts about a year or two, and then it dies. So this doesn't seem like that's what they're trying to do.
As a counterpoint with the skill chips as well, this also just means that manufacturers and miners are going to get some combat skills, so they can actually try out some of those chips. For me, having a corporation CEO alt that is going to exist purely to get the Catskill cartel up to 200 members as quickly as possible, once that skill's trained, that was going to be pretty much a disposable alt. I'm a frigate pilot by nature, so cruiser skills don't bother me in the slightest, but now my corporation CEO, I can actually try out cruisers from time to time. So there is that side of it as well, that they're bonus skills. They're bonus skills. As Sovereign says, they're 13 hours worth of training, and they give you an incentive to try something different.
And then I know this is a little bit of a segue, but I think it was something that Fish actually brought up, because it's a Chinese thing and because they are high on merchandise stuff. I am hoping that NetEase and CCP sees this as an opportunity to actually expand the whole brand and potentially shift to making most of their money from merchandise instead of the actual games. Because this is what you've seen in so many other of the really big brand titles, right? That you have this point where suddenly the income stream from the name alone is actually more valuable than the activities of the actual games.
Yeah.
And we did notice that, in terms of one of the most like rewards, it was pretty bit large influx where everybody seems to be okay with ship skins, cosmetics. In terms of dailies, I don't think anything that's not going to directly affect gameplay, people seem to be a lot more open to. So I think that's a big concern players have. How is this going to affect our gameplay? But one thing that I'm trying to also just keep in mind in terms of, us as the players, we like and dislike certain things, but they also have tons and tons of data. I mean, we only have about 693 responses from a survey, but they've also had tons of testing. So I do think there will be some balancing that needs to happen in the beginning, and we'll just have to be aware of that and understand. And like Nam was saying, these devs are definitely listening. They take our feedback. It doesn't mean that they're going to do everything that we request, but it does seem that like they are listening. So I don't think that players have an issue with dailies. Even from the first question we had, people are okay with dailies. They like the idea of daily rewards. It's just specifically what those daily rewards are going to be. I think that's the big point of contention.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I mean, in terms of merchandise, would you guys buy EVE Online merchandise?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Some of it?
And yes.
Like this sweet hat right here?
They definitely need to do more merch, like just promote that more, because I think a lot of people would spend money on merchandise, and then they don't have to be so worried about how they're going to monetize the game and potentially interfere with parts of the game that people are focusing on, that people like, that changing things. If it's not a sandbox, that's a cool pod. Sorry, I'm just like,
this is a pen.
That's awesome.
Actually, so this is a 3D Tristan model.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice. Here's
someone else.
Here's the 3D
I want those.
Here's the
See, why are they not making and selling that stuff?
Yeah, these models are all from players. They're not from.
Yeah,
they are.
I would pay a ton of money.
About it, yeah, but they charge like what, $90 to $150 to $200 for an in-game ship skin. How the fucking much are they going to charge for a 3D printed ship?
Oh yeah.
People
will pay for it.
I can't
people will
remember
pay
the name
for
of
it.
the company, but there is a company doing it. You can go search online on Google now for EVE Online 3D printed ships. There is a company working with CCP doing it. There's about 8 or 9 different models,
Mixed dimensions.
things like the Rift or the Tornado.
Yeah.
Mixed dimensions, that's the one, perfect. But they're like 70 to 80 quid a pop. They're so expensive. I want
I've heard
one.
they're really good.
It's not bad. It's not bad, but I want one.
Yeah.
They had a Nix for like $2,000 or some shit on that site, man. $2,000 for a Nix.
That was a scam too. The company never followed through in CCP.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they just stopped responding to CCP. It was pretty disappointing. But it was a floating mix, so like that was super cool.
So there's definitely going to be kind of a barrier in terms of getting some of that merchandise up, but I do think that's something to explore in terms of the big concern is that we don't want this to become a pay-to-win game. I mean, that's really what happens to a lot of mobile games. I mean, almost all of them. And I do think there's almost this. A lot of mobile gamers are very scarred. I mean, I think a lot of them have a hard time feeling like they need to continue having faith in developers because they keep getting, they keep finding themselves disappointed with what happens.
I think this is my issue, that do netties actually understand that the Eve model, or the whole idea that CCP brings, is longevity instead of the pump and dump, right? They have been running a game for 18 years, right, where everyone else has just come and gone, and this is, can a mobile platform support a longevity-based game where instead of making a lot of money in 3 years, you make more money but in 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, and a mobile platform can 100% support that. In fact, I would arguably say that mobile gamers can be more hardcore than PC gamers.
100%.
Yeah, because I mean, Alex and I, we played these mobile games where the wars were 24/7. Or 24 hours. They would last 24 hours, and at any time someone just come in and start destroying your stuff. I mean, we stayed up for 24 hours, multiple occasions, and then there were these galaxy wars, and then I remember we were just in constant battles, and I was like not sleeping, like 3 months of just barely any sleep, and it was a lot of fun. A little bit overwhelming how much effort it took, but I would say I spent more time doing that than any war or battle I've ever been in EVE Online. I never really was a
console
huge
gamers
EVE
don't
Online,
play on the toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the toilet factor. At least you won't be killed by Rahne when she's taking a leak.
I mean, I can
Joke's
tell
on
you
you.
many date nights have been ruined. Like I accidentally said to someone, "Oh, we're going to go on a date night," and they decided to war us. So then we had to cancel.
Yeah, we had
date
to
night.
stop saying that.
That's some metagame level stuff, right?
Yeah,
there.
no, we had to stop telling people that we're going, she would say that, and people would use it as an opportunity to war our alliance. Oh, they're going to be gone for a few hours. Let's just declare war right now. Yeah, it was interesting. I'd say, arguably say that mobile gamers can be even more hardcore than PC. So there is an opportunity for it to last a long time. Like, it doesn't have to be a turn and burn.
Yeah, I think what Caleb is touching on, though, is just we don't need to rush it along. Like, I know we're all eager and excited to start Eve Echoes. We've all been waiting for such a long time for it, but we also don't need this to, we don't need it to be rushed. It doesn't need, I don't mind a little bit of a slower paced game. I don't mind the economy building a little bit slower. I think that's part of the joy. Actually, in first beta, I built my own venture, lost it in 2 minutes, but there was like a real joy I had from that. And then in the second beta, I got a free venture from an advanced tutorial, and it kind of destroyed a little bit of the joy for me. I wasn't as big of a fan. But yeah, just trying to rush things along, I think that's really not necessary.
And when it comes to the whole splitting of the community in EVE Online players and not EVE Online players, I think it's actually the synergy that's going to be exciting, right? To see how the two communities start mingling, both in the actual games, but also under the actual brand in real life meetups. I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot of players when we have FanFest again, because this year all of my tickets and stuff was booked, and then fucking COVID-19. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, for real. It's funny, I played EVE Online for 7 years, and I never went to a FanFest or anything. And it was Alex, the mobile gamer, when we started playing this mobile game and she got interested in the EVE Online community, she was the one that dragged me out, and I had a ton of fun. I was so glad I went, but it was the mobile gamer that got me there. So I think that there's a lot of cohesiveness.
And Eve
I've
nerds are
got
the
to
best
wonder how
nerds,
much
right,
that
Ray?
Yeah.
spikes their GDP
Hell
each
yeah.
year.
Say that again, Benzie?
I've got to wonder how much FanFest spikes Iceland's GDP every year.
Oh, it's a
Just the
decent
amount of
amount.
people suddenly arriving on this tiny island.
Did you guys ever hear
Like,
the story
joking
about...
aside.
Well, did you hear the story about how Eve FanFest changed Icelandic law because Eve players
Yes.
drank all of the alcohol in the bars, so
Yes.
they got to the limit that bars could carry alcohol? So I want to
Yes.
say it probably makes a lot of headway.
God. That is
It
hilarious.
was, it was
not know
becoming
that.
a sport. That how many bars can we actually dry up?
Because
my
they had, no,
God.
because what was it? CCP actually created the go to every bar crawl years ago in the fan fests, and then because they wanted to stimulate the economy within Iceland itself with the bars and restaurants and stuff. So they added this, and they just literally dried up every bar and pub in the entire city.
Yeah, I don't know how Eve
Yeah,
players
that's
do it, but they can
hilarious.
drink.
It's exactly the same way that we play Eve, right, Rain? We go into an asteroid belt and we completely rip it.
Yeah. All or nothing.
I do.
The FanFest blobs are amazing because you just have like 50 plus nerds just rushing a bar and there's hardly any fucking space. And then they drink all that they can and then they move on to the next one. It's massive.
It's so fucking great.
That's amazing.
Well, I do
And,
think.
and a lot of them run around with their flags and stuff, which is kind of also bringing a lot of metagame fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be really fun to see. I think it'll be interesting to see the Echoes crew, the online crew. But I mean, at the end of the day, I know it is two different developers. I mean, we did have a stream back when they did the first beta, and that was both CCP and NetEase joined. And you know, we actually met them in Eve Vegas because I pretty much was at the point where I was so destroyed by Nova Empire that I was like, if I'm gonna go into another community, like this better be the most awesome community. And I was definitely not disappointed. I loved meeting everyone from the Eve Vegas. It was really cool, really
Not
interesting.
everyone.
What?
You disliked someone. I remember you disliked someone.
Well, then, yeah, there's always a few people that can kind of rub you the wrong way. But I don't know. Everyone had their quirks and whatnot. But it was just really overall meeting the community, really exciting to get into. And, you know, I think a lot of EVE Online players really want EVE Echoes to be EVE Online. I'm okay with it being different, but I want to have that community. That community, that same feeling, that's what really matters to me. So just trying to make sure that we bring over the best pieces and parts. And I do think that a lot of EVE Echoes players will actually end up trying EVE Online. I know that while the beta's been down, a lot of Echoes players have been actually playing online just to learn more about the game so they can prepare. I mean, if that's not dedication, I really don't know what is.
We're going to be able to share each other's suffering, right?
Pretty much,
I think that's a big thing. This community for Echoes.
Well, I'm looking forward to the FanFest effect hitting EVE Echoes the first year around, because pretty much in EVE Online, every time there's FanFest, there's always shenanigans and almost wars being started in the background. So everyone that's at FanFest cannot participate. It's basically this weird lockout. So a lot of the very famous or very successful EVE players end up being at FanFest, and that means leadership and stuff is not going to be around. So you could basically pull off some awesome wars, but it's going to be opposite for EVE Echoes, right? Because it's going to be EVE Echoes players at FanFest, completely drunk out of
Everyone's
their
on their
skull
phone.
and getting raped.
Across the room, just like, fuck you, no, fuck you. I'm gonna blow
Guys,
you up
we need
now.
this bar. This one has shit Wi-Fi. Everyone, go to this bar. It's really good Wi-Fi. Get online. We have battles to fight.
And they're still going to be too drunk to actually do anything that's meaningful and effective, so they're going to have whelping every fucking where.
Actually, we have learned the hard way that sometimes it's not a good idea to go out at the bar and then start playing, because mistakes can be made, and then sometimes you go into the global chat and, you know, you like to say hi to all your friends when you're drunk. But there's a lot of really cool times and experiences. I'm definitely excited to see that. But yeah, I will say everyone always talks about being able to play on the toilet. I mean, we can play on the toilet, we can play on our computer, we can play at the bar, you can play Echoes anywhere. So even actually the first time
Best thing about being mobile.
Yeah, exactly. The first time I ever had the shakes was when someone was attacking my corp, and I literally told Nam we were driving on our way to the grocery store, and I screamed, "Someone's attacking me! Pull over!" And so he pulled over, and he literally, like, in the parking lot for 30 minutes, like, I was just shaking, and he's like, "Oh my God, babe, you got the shakes! Congratulations!"
Yeah, that was so much fun.
And we kicked that guy's ass.
That was probably one of the like most epic experiences I've had on a mobile game, and that moment was what like just I was stuck on mobile games after that. I just thought that was amazing. You know, we were in the middle of doing stuff, our everyday regular thing, and then all of a sudden we're just getting attacked, and I just pull over the car and we're just like battling it out, and her hands are shaking. I'm like, "Oh my God, you were so lucky you got the shakes. I want that so bad. It's like so fun." But yeah, that was a great time. I can't wait to have one of those again in Eve Echoes.
I mean, we have seen the other side of that mobile gaming can sometimes bring, with people playing Pokemon Go and like jumping out of moving cars and falling off bridges. So there is a certain worry that, like, you know, having that and, oh shit, we need to pull over, swerving across 3 lanes of traffic to try and stop your venture being destroyed, sort of thing. There is a slight safety concern inherent there. Joking aside though, dear Lord, I've always wanted to go to Iceland. I can't wait to see you guys there now that I actually have a reason to. And yes, Sovereign, I will even share a drink with a filthy Amarian like you.
Whoa!
Minotaur! In Rust we trust.
Sovereign knows I love him so
Where
much.
the fuck did that come from?
Stop slaving Minotaur.
Great.
No, you know I love you.
I can't wait to see like the wars happen and like just all the salt, and then we all see each other and we're like in person, and everyone's just like having a beer, and I think that'll be fun. Sometimes things can get intense in these games, man. Like when you have a lot to lose, emotions get high. I think it'd be really fun to like actually. Emotions get high, you're having a battle and, getting at each other, but then you see each other at a FanFest and then you shake hands and you have a beer and, have fun. I think that'll be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that. I never got to experience that in EVE Online, so I'm really looking forward to getting something like that in EVE Echoes.
Getting all of these cool mobile platform gamers to the New Eden brand brings up the opportunity of CCP actually doing some sort of geocaching at FanFest, so we can run around and pick up weird skins and shit all over Iceland.
So good, honestly. Especially like Iceland's beautiful to see, and FanFest takes place downtown Reykjavik, so like getting out and seeing things with geocaching would be so fucking amazing.
Can you imagine if you have to go to the actual springs and waterfalls to actually get specific skins?
Dude, I'd love it. I'm all for that.
Yeah, that would be definitely pretty
good sportsmanship.
Actually, Caleb, I think you were one of the first. You and Yintan were the first 2 that I spoke about, where everybody was just like hating on Echoes, and I was like, I don't care what you guys are saying. Like, mobile gamers are dedicated. Trust me. You don't know about the wave. The wave is coming, and I think.
I think a lot of the EVE players forget that they're half-time mobile players. It's just mostly the metagame that's being played on mobile platforms, right? 100%. When we get rage pings and Discord on our mobile phone and sit in class or at work and actually follow what everyone is doing. So we already play on mobile platforms, so it's bullshit. And I think EVE Echoes has the potential to be maybe the best game ever on a mobile platform. So it's really about making sure that they don't mess it up.
Yep. And the best community. Like, I really do think it has the potential to have one of the best communities as well, because everyone's always Echoes are online. I'm just like, hey, it's EVE community, and that's what's cool to me. I really like that. I just think it's one of the most badass communities I've met so far.
There is always that worry, though, and I'm hoping it's not going to be the case. I'm hoping that the online community sits there and says, well, actually, you guys are playing EVE together, and, there's some of you who have come from there to our side, and some of us have come to your side, that it's not going to be the Diablo Immortal story all over again, where it's, mobile gamers, and just that other mouth-breathing, keyboard-turning troglodyte group.
I mean, they can underestimate us. That would just be a mistake on their part.
But the problem is, it's not between Eve Echoes and Eve Online. That's not where the fight is. The fight is as old as mobile phones and PCs are. It's the fight between PC gamers and mobile gamers. It's not going to be an Eve versus Eve
PC
fight.
gamers and everyone else, let's be fair.
Yeah, well, that was me.
PC Master Race is basically when you're tethered to your battle station. But the point is that if CCP grows a brain, they start expanding on this whole thing, and they put even more of their content and titles and things on mobile platforms. So the whole point of differentiating between mobile gamer or not mobile gamer, it really becomes a non-issue, right? One of the biggest successes wasn't it Eve Gunjack, right?
Valkyrie.
Well, Valkyrie was a little bit of a niche thing on VR.
That was fun in VR. Oh my god.
It's
Little.
And I'm
not
just
just
saying that
VR, though. You can do it on PS4.
Yeah, you can. But the point is that if CCP moves more of their stuff and things onto mobile platforms, the fact that you can browse the market, the fact that you can maybe do planetary interaction, they have so many opportunities to blur the lines between whether you are playing on a PC or on a mobile platform. Because you could also see the fact that a lot of mobile players might actually end up using emulator a lot more than their actual mobile, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm going to be using an emulator for sure.
I'm an emulator fan, and then
Me
as
too.
a content creator, I use emulators because it makes it easier for me to pump out tutorials or pump out videos, pump out kind of content. So I know some people are mixed on emulators, but I like them.
I want to touch point with what
Heathens.
Caleb was saying, because you were saying this has a potential to be a really great, one of the best mobile games out, and I 100% agree with that. I think that this game has the potential to be the best mobile game ever made. That's why I think everyone is so sensitive about making changes, because everyone EVE Online is a great game. It's been out, it's lasted for so long, and they're going to continue to keep. I mean, who knows? This game could go on forever. So that's why I think people get so passionate when they're making things like changes like insurance vouchers or dailies, and everyone's in an uproar that everyone's freaking out because it's just we really don't want this to turn into what every other mobile game is. It's this turn and burn
Second Galaxy.
microtransaction crap. Yeah, Second Galaxy.
Watch out,
I
the
couldn't
stream
play
might
that
be
game
taken
more than
down.
2 days. I couldn't play that game more than 2 days. I just saw the how it wasn't pay to win in the early game, but you could, if you looked at the meta game and how it was going to progress, I was just like, this game is going to be so heavily pay to win. I just cannot invest any time into it because you lose all the strategy. It's not strategy when you can just pull out your credit card and then just keep buying the most expensive ship and just kicking everyone's ass. And sure, it is kind of fun because we did that a little bit in another game we played. It can be fun to have that extra power and just really just wreck everyone around you just because you can spend some money. But it gets really old really fast, and that's why I think a lot of people leave those games and they only last a year or two, and then it's gone. And I really don't want that to happen to EVE Echoes. I don't think that it will either, because CCP owns the rights to the brand, right? And I don't think they're going to want their brand to be soiled. They don't want it to. They want pay to win got such a bad stigma in the mobile gaming community now. I mean, and I think it'll just continue to go that direction. And if they start reverting to that kind of gameplay, I think it's actually going to give bad PR for EVE Online in general. And at that point, I'm hoping if it ever went that way, that CCP would step in and try to help make some better changes.
They already have. They've already approached me previously, asking for different opinions from different people.
Oh, that's good. That's so good to hear.
It was something to do with the limitations, because I was openly really upset about the fact that they weren't allowing us to withdraw ISK from a corp wallet. That pissed me off.
Yes.
It sent me
Yes.
over the edge. So I went into a massive tirade and I got into an argument with one of the devs, and I was like, you can't not give us access to the corp wallet. That's ridiculous.
As a CEO paying out of pocket, it was insane.
I was paying out
broke
of
all the
for
time.
everything. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And then there was the fact that if you look at the timing of this, NetEase have just given CCP the golden key that opened doors to EVE Online in China. And CCP have then given the IP to NetEase to be able to create their mobile game using the EVE IP. There's just a personal, like, paranoid guessing thing, but it happened at exactly the same time. They announced the fact that CCP can now legally put EVE Online into the Chinese market, and now NetEase can legally put out an IP for EVE Online. It was just weird timing. So I don't know if there's a little deal going on there or some shit. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure there's lots of deals we probably don't know about going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, but I look at them as two corps. They're kind of an alliance, and they work together. They might have some different leadership styles, but they're clearly working together. I mean, I know that. We talked to CCP Rax, and he was very involved. He was one of the first people I met at EVE Vegas, and he literally has gone on record saying that they do not want this to be a pay-to-win game, and that they will make sure to really listen to what motivates the community.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is exciting. Well, guys.
And they've done that so far.
Well, guys, I was going to say that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for coming. Does anyone want to give it a shout-out to their corp, or just kind of do a little sign-off before we leave?
Absolutely. Strength and Honor Obsidian, that is our corporation, and we have some of the best guys I've ever played games with, and just love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I know a bunch of you guys are watching the stream. Go OBS.
I'd like to say thank you to all the Sovereign States members for coming and watching the stream, and also we are actually opening Sovereign States to applications to the public now. We're an anti-piracy corp where we will actually pay you ISK to kill pirates. If you just show up to kill them, we'll pay you money.
Well, that sounds interesting. Obviously, big shout out to the Catskull Cartel. They are the guys who are helping me pump out all of the tutorials, videos, and other content that you see me putting up on YouTube. Do come join us on the Catskull Cartel Discord. We've got public channels there. We do love chatting all things EVE Echoes, and we do still have a couple of spots in the main corporation itself. As for purpose behind the corporation, it's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. We've got a particular area of space that we just want to absolutely control for the rest of time. So you can come join us and make that dream a reality.
I just have a question for Rahne. When am I going to be able to see you stream EVE Echoes and kill stuff in your Tristan?
Whenever it comes out, I'll probably play on launch and then just run around and feed and then try to use those vouchers to redeem my ships back so I don't have to stream myself ratting. Kind of with my shout out, I know there's a big war going on in EVE Online, so shout out to all those nerds out there doing like day in and day out war stuff. I know it's not fun, and I'm missing out on some kill mails right now, but shout out to everyone participating.
Awesome. And then Caleb, any shout outs you want to do?
No, I really don't, because it's all going to be EVE Online centric, so I don't really want to do that.
The true EVE Online player is staying mysterious. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. One last announcement. We are going to be running a campaign in the near future to help free Captain Benzie's internet. So if you guys want to take part in this, please message me personally, and we were going to look to do a campaign to raise some money to help Captain Benzie, because we want to see his beautiful face on this stream. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Tune in for next week's show, and we will see you next time.